I usually tell people I met Jamie through mutual friends at some rooftop party. Or sometimes I say it was a concert. We both reached for the same overpriced beer, laughed, and just clicked. But the real story? I met Jamie on Grindr. Not romantic, I know. Definitely not the kind of story you want to tell your future in-laws. But that's how it happened. It was 1:43 a.m. on a Thursday. I was freshly dumped and sleepless, and his profile popped up like some quiet dare. 6 feet 0 inches, mask, bored, no expectations. Nothing flashy, just enough to make me pause. He lived on the other side of the city, but when he messaged me, it was direct. Can't sleep, come over? And for reasons I still can't explain, I went. Jamie answered the door wearing a Knicks t-shirt and old boxers, hair sticking up like he'd been laying down before I got there. Hey, he said casually, like we were old friends picking up where we left off. No pretense, no nerves, just that one word. I thought I knew how the night would go, some quick distraction to fill the silence in my head. But instead, we lay on his bed, fully clothed, side by side, our knees touching now and then. We talked about movies that scarred us as kids, terrible first jobs, random shit like how both of us hate pumpkin spice but drink it anyway, because we're too polite to say, no, I left at sunrise, no kiss, no number swap. Just a quiet, see ya, and the sound of the door clicking shut behind me. That should have been the end of it. But that night, I texted him under the excuse of forgetting my charger. He said he hadn't seen it, but told me to stop by anyway, just in case. He made ramen from scratch. Not the instant kind, the real stuff, with soft-boiled eggs and sliced green onions. We watched a bad horror movie with the sound off and dubbed over it with ridiculous voices until we couldn't breathe from laughing. That became our routine. No labels, no rules. Just Jamie, always just Jamie. He'd disappear for a few days sometimes. No texts, no calls, and I never asked where he went. When he came back, it was like nothing had changed. We didn't kiss for weeks. We didn't talk about feelings. I never told anyone about him. He was my quiet, maybe, my secret middle-of-the-night warmth. The first time we kissed was in his kitchen. It was raining, and he'd just burned one side of a grilled cheese. I called him out on it. He smirked like he always did and leaned in. Simple, uncomplicated, the kind of kiss that didn't spark fireworks, just settled into your chest and stayed there. Later that night, he asked if I wanted to stay over. I said yes. He said cool, like it was nothing, turned off the lights and climbed into bed. Our feet tangled under the blanket. We didn't speak, just lay there, breathing, while the rain tapped against the window. And as I stared up at the ceiling, heart stupidly full, one thought hit me so hard it made my throat close up. This is going to hurt. Because even then, I knew Jamie wasn't mine to keep. But I still stayed. For the next few weeks, Jamie and I slipped into this rhythm that didn't have a name. He wasn't my boyfriend, but he wasn't just a friend either. We didn't go on dates. We didn't post photos. We didn't even text all that often. But some nights I'd be brushing my teeth, and his name would pop up with, "You up?" And that was enough. I'd drive to his place with the windows down and music low, the kind of drive where you don't think too hard because thinking ruins it. At first, I told myself it was just physical, that I was using Jamie as a soft place to land after the wreckage of my last relationship. But that excuse stopped working somewhere between the night he made us pancakes at 1 a.m. because I said I missed home, and the morning he ran out to buy me cold medicine because I texted him I couldn't get out of bed. He wasn't trying to impress me. He didn't compliment my outfits or call me cute names. He just paid attention. He remembered things I forgot I told him. What my favorite ramen place was. The fact that I hate when people pour milk before cereal. That I can't sleep with the closet door cracked. And I noticed things about him too. Jamie always turned his phone face down when he set it on the table. He never talked about his past. He didn't have family photos anywhere in the apartment. Just stacks of books and scattered Polaroids of buildings and alleyways I didn't recognize. Once, I asked him why he didn't hang any art, and he said, "I don't like putting things up I know I'll have to take down." I didn't push. I just nodded like that made sense. One night, we were lying in bed, legs tangled, not quite asleep. He asked, "What's your worst habit?" I thought for a second. I avoid things. I ghost on people when things get hard. Relationships, emails, even myself sometimes. He was quiet for a beat. "Same," he finally said. "Except I don't ghost. I just disappear slower, like little by little until no one notices." I looked over at him, and for a moment, I wondered if that's what he was doing to me, disappearing slowly. But the next morning, he made coffee, handed me a mug, and said, "Don't get used to this. I'm not nice." I smiled. Too late. That night, when I got home, I did something I hadn't done in years. I journaled. I didn't write about love or some intimacy or big feelings. I just wrote, "Jamie made me laugh today. It felt like I was allowed to be stupid again." I forgot what that felt like. It scared me. Because when something makes you feel that safe, that grounded, you start to build things in your head. Futures, scenarios, stupid what ifs. And I knew better. Jamie wasn't mine, not in any real sense. But it didn't stop me from hoping. Then came the first night he didn't answer. It was a Saturday. I was 2 beers deep. And I texted him something dumb like "you up." Because we'd built that language, that code. And usually he'd answer. But that night, nothing. Not for an hour. Not for 3. The next morning, still nothing. I didn't panic exactly, but something in my chest started to close up, like a window I forgot was open during a storm. I kept checking my phone like a reflex. 2 days passed. When he finally texted, it was 3 words. "Hey, been busy." That was it. No explanation, no apology. Just a message that might have been innocent if it hadn't felt like something had shifted. I didn't answer right away. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering, and for once, I didn't know what to say. What do you say when someone you're not supposed to care about hurts you anyway? I finally just replied, "All good." Another lie. That was the thing with Jamie. Even the good moments came with exits already built in, doors left slightly ajar, and I had started walking through them without even realizing it. The next time we saw each other, we didn't talk about the gap. He didn't explain, and I didn't ask. We just fell back into each other like nothing happened. But something had. I could feel it in the way he kissed me, slightly slower, like he was savoring something on its way out. I remember thinking, this is what it feels like when someone starts packing without telling you. And I still stayed. It was around mid-November when things started to really change. Jamie had always been private, but now he was vague. Distant in a way that didn't announce itself. It just crept in. He started canceling more often. One night, I asked if he wanted to grab dinner, and he replied, "Can't tonight." Work stuff. No offer to reschedule. No smiley face. Just those 2 words. Work stuff. The thing is, Jamie didn't talk about his job much, and I didn't push. I knew he worked in tech, something back-end and complicated that meant long hours in meetings with people in different time zones. But that excuse started showing up a lot more. Work stuff. Sorry. Crazy day. Talk soon. Eventually, I stopped asking. I wish I could say I took the hint with dignity, but I didn't. I sent one more text the next weekend. Just, "Wanna hang? I'll bring Thai food and pretend to care about your fantasy basketball league." He didn't answer. Not for 2 hours. Not for 2 days. And when he finally did, it was a thumbs up emoji. That was when I knew. He was pulling away, and not in the slow, cautious way he'd warned me about. This was sharper, cleaner, like a string being quietly cut in the dark. I didn't sleep that night. I lay on my couch, phone screen lighting up with nothing but the time. I kept replaying everything, trying to pinpoint where I had gone wrong. Had I gotten too close? Too available? Had I missed the part where I was supposed to leave first? I went through our old messages. The memes. The late-night confessions. The dumb inside jokes that only made sense to us. And it hit me. How many of them were one-sided? Me reaching. Him catching when it was convenient. It didn't feel fake. That was the worst part. It had felt real, and maybe that's why I couldn't let it go so easily. A week passed. Then 2. I didn't hear from him. Then one morning, I got a text that said, "Hey, hope you're good." That's all. I stared at it for so long that my phone screen dimmed. And for the first time, I didn't respond. It felt like a small act of self-preservation. He'd left me breadcrumbs, just enough to keep me hoping. But I'd finally stopped being hungry. About 3 weeks later, I saw him. Not on purpose. I was walking through the farmer's market on Sunday morning with my friend Erica, talking about nothing. It was cold, the kind of cold where your breath hangs in the air longer than it should, and my hands were shoved deep in my jacket pockets. And then I saw him. Across the street, with someone. A guy. They were holding hands, not in a dramatic way, just casually, like it was normal, like they'd done it 100 times. Jamie laughed at something the guy said, and his face lit up in that way I hadn't seen in weeks. That way I used to think was mine. I froze. Erica noticed and followed my gaze. "You okay?" she asked quietly. I nodded, even though my throat felt tight. "Old friend," I said, and kept walking. She didn't press. I didn't look back. When I got home, I sat on my bed and finally let it hit me. He had left. Not with a door slam or a breakup speech. He just drifted until he was gone. And that hurt more than I expected. It wasn't the rejection, it was the erasure. The way he slipped out of my life like he'd never been in it. I opened my notes app, typed, things that don't look like goodbyes but are. A text that says, "Hope you're good." A kiss that lingers but doesn't lead anywhere. A charger you never actually forgot. And then I closed it. That was the last time I heard from Jamie. No big finale. No confrontation. Just silence. The kind that fills the room long after someone's gone. Time passed. That's the simplest way I can describe it. Nothing dramatic happened. No grand transformation. I didn't shave my head or move to a new city. I still worked the same job, still ate cereal for dinner more nights than I should, still scrolled through my phone at 2 a.m. pretending not to think about him. For a while, Jamie was a constant ghost. One of those thoughts that showed up during boring meetings, or in the middle of a grocery aisle when a song we used to joke about played on the speakers. I'd think about texting him, just something light, something like, "Saw someone burn grilled cheese worse than you today." But I never sent it. Eventually, he stopped showing up in my head every day, and I took that as progress. I went on a few dates, made small talk over coffee, shared awkward first kiss energy in bar parking lots, but none of it stuck. They were nice guys. Smart, kind, attractive enough, but they didn't laugh like him. They didn't know my weird quirks, or how I needed the closet door shut, or that I always eat the crust last. None of them were Jamie, and I hated that he was still the standard. Then one day, out of nowhere, it happened. I was at this random bookstore downtown. It wasn't even my usual spot. I ducked in to kill time before a dentist appointment. Real glamorous stuff, and was thumbing through some used photography books when I heard a voice behind me. "Didn't peg you as a coffee table book guy." I turned, and there he was. Jamie. He looked the same, but softer. Like the edges of him had blurred a little in the time we'd been apart. His hair was longer, his jacket was familiar. And his smile, God, that smile, was still that quiet, dangerous kind that made me forget how to breathe. For a second, I just stood there, unsure if my brain was tricking me. "Hey," I finally said, and it came out smaller than I meant. "Hey," he replied, stuffing his hands in his pockets. "Didn't think I'd run into you here." Same. Silence. Not the tense kind. Just strange, familiar. He gestured toward the book in my hand. "That one's good, by the way. I have it at home." I looked down, realizing I hadn't even been reading it. Just holding it like a shield. You still into photography? I asked. He nodded. Yeah, even picked up a real camera this time. That made me smile a little. More silence. And then, you look good. I met his eyes. You too. He shifted his weight, looked down, then back at me. I owe you an apology. I didn't say anything. Back then, he continued, I didn't know how to do any of it. I wasn't trying to hurt you. He paused, looking for the right words. I was scared, not of you, of how real it felt. I swallowed hard, pulse quickening. You didn't do anything wrong, I said quietly. I just didn't want to be something temporary for someone who never planned to stay. His face softened. I didn't think I could be that guy. Someone who stays. And now? I asked. He took a breath. I think about you. A lot. Probably more than I should admit. That sentence knocked the air out of me. I don't expect anything, he added quickly. When I saw you, I figured if I didn't say something, I'd regret it. I wanted to say a million things. That I missed him. That I hated him a little. That I still checked his Instagram even though it barely said anything. That his silence had stuck to me in places I hadn't realized could still ache. Instead, I just said, I'm still mad at you. He nodded. I deserve that, but I'm also really freaking glad to see you. That made him laugh, a short, shaky one. Can I buy you coffee? He asked. I looked at him, at the guy who had ghosted me with softness, the one I'd compared everyone to, the one I never got closure from, and I said, yeah, but you're paying for my muffin too. He grinned. Deal. And just like that, we walked out together. Not back into what we were, but maybe into something new. We ended up at a small cafe around the corner. One of those places that tries too hard to be rustic. Brick walls, Edison bulbs, staff in beanies. We sat near the window. He got black coffee. I got a latte and, yes, the muffin. At first, it felt like a first date. Polite, careful, full of long pauses and too much stirring of drinks that didn't need stirring. How's work? I asked, because I didn't know what else to say. Same old, he replied, still pretending I know what I'm doing with code. I smiled. And the guy? From the market. He blinked, caught off guard. You saw that? Yeah, I said, trying to keep my voice level. That day with the flannel and the tote bag. Jamie looked down, then back at me. We didn't last long. It wasn't the same. I didn't know what to do with that sentence. It hung between us like a loose wire, buzzing. I thought you were happy, I said. You looked free. I was trying to be, he said. But with him, I was always pretending I didn't want someone else. He didn't say who, but he didn't have to. I looked away, out the window, watching a guy walk his dog through fallen leaves. I used to make up excuses not to text you, I said quietly, because I knew if I did, I'd go right back. Jamie nodded slowly. I was afraid you'd moved on. I tried. Another silence. But it wasn't uncomfortable anymore. It was the kind of silence that sits between people who've already seen each other break. Then Jamie reached across the table and touched my wrist. Not in a showy, romantic way, just a quiet gesture. Fingers curling around skin like they were saying, hey, I'm here, if you want. I'm not asking for everything, he said. I just want to know if there's still anything left. I looked at him, and here's the truth I couldn't say out loud. Yes, of course there was. There always had been. Even when I hated him. Even when I tried not to. But saying that felt too big, too sudden. So I didn't. Instead, I flipped my hand over so my fingers met his, and that was enough for now. That night, he walked me to my car. We stood there in the cold, hands in pockets, breath fogging in the air between us. Do you want to come over? He asked. His voice was steady, but his eyes gave him away. He was nervous, not because he thought I'd say no, but because he knew I might say yes. I don't think I should, I said after a beat. Not yet. He nodded, disappointed, but not surprised. I want to, I added, but I need to be sure we're not falling into the same pattern again. He stepped back, gave a little smile. Fair, I can wait. I'm not asking you to, I said, but I'd like it if you did. Then we just stood there, watching each other. And this time, when we parted, it didn't feel like a goodbye. It felt like a beginning. Over the next few weeks, we didn't define anything. We didn't sit down and map out what this was going to be. We didn't ask questions like, are we dating again? Or is this exclusive? It wasn't like that. We just showed up. Jamie would text me in the middle of a Tuesday, I'm by your place. Want to walk? Or I'd get a random photo of his coffee and a message. It tastes like regret. Save me. Some nights we'd meet for a late dinner and talk like we hadn't skipped a beat. Other nights we'd sit in silence on my couch, not touching, not needing to. I noticed he didn't turn his phone face down anymore. He'd leave its screen up, unlocked, like it wasn't hiding anything. It was subtle, but it meant everything. One night, we watched a horror movie on mute again. Just like old times, I joked, tossing popcorn into his lap. Except now, I actually want to stay, he said. It was a simple sentence, but it cracked something open in me. Because this wasn't about falling in love again. It was about learning how to trust him again. Not with my body, with the quiet things. The soft, breakable parts of me he'd already seen and once left behind. And Jamie? He was trying. In his way. He started asking about my day more. He remembered the name of my annoying coworker. He offered to help me fix the sink even though he had no idea how. He just showed up, wrench in hand, grinning like an idiot while water shot up in his face. I'm a software engineer, he muttered, soaked. Not a plumber. You're an idiot, I laughed, handing him a towel. He smiled back. But I'm your idiot. God, he was charming when he tried, and I was starting to believe him. One weekend, I asked if he wanted to come to my friend's birthday thing, just a casual backyard hangout, nothing dramatic. He said yes without hesitation. That night, he brought a six-pack and introduced himself like it was the most natural thing in the world. Sat next to me the entire evening. Laughed with my friends. Let his hand rest lightly on my leg when we talked. Nothing over the top, just enough. Later, when everyone had drifted inside for cake, we stayed outside. Just the two of us, beer bottles sweating in our hands. You okay? He asked, nudging my knee. I nodded. Yeah. Just, it feels nice. He looked at me. I forgot what nice felt like with you. I wanted to kiss him right there. But I didn't. Not yet. Because we were still building something. And I needed every brick to be real this time. A few days before Christmas, Jamie invited me over. Not for anything special. He just said, come over. I have hot chocolate and questionable holiday music. It was snowing lightly when I arrived. The kind of snow that doesn't stick yet but makes the city feel softer. He greeted me at the door in sweatpants and a hoodie, his hair messy from a nap, a little sleepy smile on his face. Brought you something, I said, holding up a crumpled brown paper bag. He peeked inside. Gingerbread cookies? From that overpriced bakery you like? Don't say I never do anything for you. He took them, but didn't step aside right away. Instead, he leaned in and kissed my cheek. Just a brief touch. Thanks, he said softly. Inside, the apartment was dim, just the glow of string lights and the hum of some ridiculous holiday playlist. He'd actually decorated. There was a tiny tree in the corner, ornaments crooked, one string of lights blinking faster than the rest. You did all this? I asked, dropping my coat. Jamie shrugged. Figured I'd try not being a Grinch this year. He handed me a mug of hot chocolate, real stuff, with marshmallows. We sat on the floor next to the coffee table, eating cookies and debating the best Christmas movie. He argued for Die Hard. I stood firm with Home Alone 2. At some point, we stopped arguing and just leaned back, sipping in silence. "I used to hate this time of year," he said suddenly. "Too many expectations." "From family?" I asked. He nodded. "Yeah, and myself. I always thought I was supposed to have my shit figured out by now. Career, relationship, all of it." "You don't need to have it figured out," I said. "You just need to want to figure it out." He looked at me then, really looked. "I do," he said. The words landed heavy in the space between us. Jamie reached over and took my hand. No big move, just his fingers threading between mine. We sat like that for a while, quiet, comfortable. Then he said, "I know I don't deserve another shot, not really, but I want to try again, for real this time. No running, no disappearing." I didn't answer right away. I just watched our hands, how natural they looked together. "I'm not asking for perfect," I said. "Just honesty." "You'll get it," he promised. Then he kissed me. Slow, sure, and different from all the times before. This one felt like a choice, a beginning. And in that moment, with snow brushing softly against the windows and his mouth warm on mine, I let the last of the fear go. Because for the first time in a long time, I believed him. New Year's Eve came faster than I expected. Jamie and I didn't make big plans, just a quiet night at his place. No crowded bars, no overpriced drinks. Just us. Takeout, blankets, and a bottle of cheap champagne that he insisted was actually good. At 11:43 p.m., we were on the couch, legs tangled, watching the countdown on mute with our own playlist playing in the background. I had one sock on, Jamie had stolen the other. He claimed it was a host tax. When the clock hit midnight, we didn't cheer, we didn't yell, we just looked at each other. The moment stretched, soft, unspoken, full of everything we didn't need to say out loud. Then he leaned in and kissed me. A slow, steady press of lips that didn't ask for anything. It just stayed. We stayed like that, in silence, breathing the same breath, until the world around us slowly came back into focus. Later, we lay in bed, his arm draped across my chest, fingers tracing slow lines on my skin. "You know," he murmured, voice rough with sleep, "I still don't really know what I'm doing." I turned to look at him. "Neither do I. But I want to keep doing it. With you." That made me smile. "Then let's just keep showing up. That's all I want." He nodded against my shoulder. "I can do that." It's been months now. We still don't have a label. We're not in a rush. Some mornings he makes breakfast. Some nights I crash at his place. We have fights. Real ones. About dishes, about texting back, about whether The Godfather is overrated. It is, by the way. But he stays. Even when it's messy. Even when I shut down. Or he pulls away. He always comes back. And I do too. The other night, he handed me a spare key. Didn't say anything, just dropped it in my palm like it was no big deal. But it was. It meant, I want you here. Not just sometimes. All the time. And that meant everything. I still haven't told anyone we met on Grindr. That part's just for us. Because no one needs to know how it started. Only that it did. And that somehow, against all odds, it turned into something real.